The name of this place is Phayao. Fewer than 20,000 people live in this small town that is situated in northern Thailand. I got here by taking a 3-hour bus ride from Chiang Mai. Honestly, it was sort of a random choice as I had heard virtually nothing about the town. It was a site that I could reach easily by using public transportation. Imagine how thrilled I was to learn that Phayao is an amazing place to visit. Just take a look. Phayao is a tranquil place, much more laid back than some of the other destinations in the northern part of Thailand. It has some age on it too, as the town and its province was founded as an independent kingdom nearly 1,000 years ago in 1096. The primary physical feature here is Kwan Phayao. It's the 4th largest freshwater lake in the country and the largest in northern Thailand. I saw a few tourists during my 2-night stay, but this location is not on the agenda for many visitors to the country. Maybe that should change. This is a beautiful and authentic town with enough attractions to keep tourists engaged for a couple of days. It's necessary to leave the land to see what I believe to be the most interesting sight in Phayao. This is an island in the middle of the lake. On the small spit of land, there are religious icons, including a Buddha statue at the center of it all. This is called Wat Tilok Aram. I have been to quite a few temples in my time here in Thailand, and without a doubt, this is one of the most unique. It is so old, and then you come to the realization that this is just a portion of what once was here. The rest has been submerged. The temple was intentionally drowned in 1939 when the lake was enlarged. All that remained above the water was the brick jetty that you see here. Local leaders decided at some point that this would be a place of interest for visitors. They enhanced the island and added the Buddha statue. Information found at the temple shows that it was constructed in the 15th century, making this well over 500 years old. It is necessary to take a boat to get to this location. I got the earliest passage one morning and made the trip shortly after 8 o'clock. There was not a great deal to see here, so the 15 or 20 minutes that I was able to spend was sufficient to discover what the island has to offer. I would say for anyone coming to Phayao that it is essential to make this a stop while in town. The transit to and from the island and the submerged temple was as enjoyable as taking in the religious site. That trip is in a rowboat, guided by an oarsman who has undoubtedly made the crossing numerous times. It's a 10 or 15-minute trip each way. The crossing is about 300 or 400 meters, and the cost if there are 6 people or more on the boat is 50 bahts apiece. It was a little bit more since there were only 2 of us on this trip. What comes to my mind is how many trips the captain has made back and forth. The skill of the captain was on display as we hit the slot coming back into the dock. He judged the wind and the current to park the longboat perfectly with a minimal amount of effort. 18 creeks flow into this lake, with the Ing River being the primary source. The surface is around 20 square kilometers. It's a shallow lake with the maximum depth listed at 4 meters or around 13 feet. Traveling to the temple on the island has a secondary benefit of allowing you to get out on the water. That provides a different perspective, which I would argue is better than just remaining on the shore. My best find in the town came just after emerging from my hotel on the first morning. Several blocks from where I stayed is this vibrant and colorful market. What an atmosphere. This is totally about food. There are stands where it is possible to buy fruits and vegetables and all sorts of meat. Even better from my viewpoint though, were all the prepared dishes that were available. I think this is generally referred to as the morning market, but I like to call it the breakfast market. There were all sorts of items being assembled over heat by many of the different vendors. Most days, I don't eat until the evening, and it is safe to say that I never have a meal until noon or later. In retrospect, I should have definitely made an exception on this day.
What a spectacular find so early in the morning. There are easily more than 50 vendors here. I was planning on doing a couple of other things early this morning, but I was so enthralled with this that I've spent the last 30 to 45 minutes just wandering around, taking it all in.
My love of walking through markets is pretty much universal, but I must say that this could have been my favorite ever. It was just the surprise of turning a corner and all of this activity being laid out on the street in front of me. This opened at 6 or 7, and the vendors stopped selling at close to 11 o'clock. A bonus came as a group of Buddhist monks passed through the setting. Monks own very little and do not have paid employment, so they rely on the practice of giving alms. Foods of all sorts and maybe a few other items are deposited in the bowls that are carried by the monks. This came about unexpectedly, so I had nothing to offer. I vowed to be better prepared when out in the morning in the future. No matter the time of day, the promenade along the lakefront in Phayao is a wonderful area. For hundreds of meters, the path hugs the shore and is a special avenue for walking, running, or biking. When I was there was the chance to see both sunrise and sunset over the water. I took full advantage. There were very few others when I strolled down the lane early in the day. In addition to the dock, where I caught the rowboat to the temple on the island, there was a pier that sat out over the lake. At the time of sundown, the area was quiet one of the days I was in town. It wasn't overrun with people, and I enjoyed the serenity of the water and the trees. That afternoon, I grabbed a seat at a rooftop restaurant and enjoyed a beer while taking in the view of the sun going down. It was a fantastic spot to relish being at this particular place in the world. The vibe was completely different on the lakefront the following evening. I was going to be happy with traveling the path at a leisurely pace again. Instead, there were vendors selling clothing and food. It was a Wednesday.
The main market here is apparently only on the weekends, but keep an eye out if you're in town because you'll come by a place like this and a market has all of a sudden popped up.
I enjoyed seeing the two faces of this walkway, and it was especially encouraging to see so many locals supporting the market. This wasn't huge by any means, but it did cover 100 to 200 meters along the shore. The venue for the larger weekend market is a little farther to the east along the waterfront. This can be found by searching for the Kwan walking street. Apparently the market here opens both Friday and Saturday at 3 in the afternoon and lasts until 11. I'm not certain how extensive the sales area is, but even early on another morning, there were a few vendors in the vicinity. They were primarily selling coffee and food to help people get their day started. Right next to the walking street, there is a park set up for recreation. This is called Health Garden. Courts and fields are situated here for group activity. There is also some workout equipment that was getting a bit of use when I passed through. There are plenty of features along the promenade to keep things interesting. These are known as the Phayao Naga King statues. Naga in Thailand is a mythological serpent-like creature. There are 2 of them in this location. A chedi, which is a type of Buddhist shrine, stands at the center. When you search for images of the town, this installation will be one of the first items that appears. That is just one of the cool things to experience on the lakefront. There's also this fountain and sculpture. It's in a prominent location and has an extremely impressive look. I was able to find virtually no information about it though. There's no mention of when it was created and why it is here. I suppose this is one instance to simply appreciate something and not dwell on what is not known about it. Nearby there is Peacock Park. It's a tiny bit of green space along a promenade that is in essence a long stretch of green space. A sculpture of a peacock towers over the park. Green peafowl, as they are known, were once common throughout Southeast Asia, but now inhabit just 16% of their former range. The largest population on the mainland is in a forest near Phayao. Just inland from the promenade and the street which runs parallel is a monument to Pho Kun Nam Wang. It honors a benevolent king of the Phayao region from the 13th century. He formed an alliance with the kings from present-day Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai. The kingdom prospered during his reign. This monument is quite a tribute to someone who ruled this area more than 700 years ago. The monument is situated in the Phayao Municipality Public Park. This is a fairly large area that contains more than just a site to commemorate a king from long ago. There are trees, trails, and other memorials in the park. I particularly like this small pond, which had bridges crisscrossing over the water. Quite a stunning little area of the town. In addition to the temple and the lake, I stopped by 3 other Buddhist religious sites in Phayao. This is Wat Tilok Aram, which is positioned close to the lake to the north and west of the center of the town. It takes about a 15-minute walk to get there. Some say that this is the most important temple in the town. Part of that could be the Buddha that sits at the front of the main prayer hall. Rising to a height of 18 meters, it is the largest of its type in the country. It anchors what is a classic-looking temple. This dates to the 15th century, but the buildings that are seen today are only about 100 years old. There are drawings of a new modern facility throughout the temple. I wonder if those depict a structure that will fill this space in the future. On the far eastern edge of the town is Wat Li. I learned that means temple in the market area. It was a bit of a hike from the center of Phayao to get to this location. I went early enough in the morning that the doors of the main prayer hall were not open. I enjoyed the grounds, but I would have preferred to also have the opportunity to check out the interior. The final temple that I visited is Wat Tilok Aram. This site has the usual prayer hall, complete with Buddha and artwork. It is elevated a bit more than the main buildings at some other temples that I have visited. That allows it to be seen from points all over Phayao, since it exists right in the center of the town. One standout feature here is the Chedi. The white and gold shrine is gorgeous. I dropped by here as the sun was sinking lower in the sky. It created a magical atmosphere for me. It's just a short walk from there to the Phayao City Pillar Shrine. This is actually a recent addition to the landscape, although it fits right in with many of the more historic structures. Construction here was finished only in 1987. On the inside of the shrine, though, there is the pillar and also a small stone tablet which details the founding of the town in the 14th century. This element itself is stunning, but the setting enhances that beauty even more. Tree-lined paths leading up to the shrine frame this little building and accentuate the importance of this place to the town and its residents. I was thrilled to discover the daily night market that is a part of Phayao. For me, it didn't hold the same appeal as that breakfast market, but it was still pretty sweet. In a relatively small space, there were a variety of vendors cooking traditional northern Thai dishes and serving them up to willing customers. I was one of them.
Probably the biggest problem when coming to a market like this is deciding what to try. Everything looks so good and the smells are just amazing overall. It is not a bad problem to have though.
The choice was actually narrowed for me to some extent. All of the items being cooked in the center square of the market were for people to grab and take with them. There were abundant options here, and there were many plates with which I was unfamiliar. I enjoyed looking, but my intention was always to eat on the premises. That meant that I needed to pick my meal from those establishments located around the perimeter. There was still lots of choice.
Ultimately, I went conservative here. I got the pad thai topped with a fried egg. I found it to be consistently good no matter where you are.
This did not disappoint, and I was happy with my selection, if not my sense of culinary adventure on this evening. It always helps when I'm able to watch the food that I am about to eat being cooked in front of me. Freshness is never an issue then. It's probably just the specific places that I've been in terms of the parts of cities and towns I've visited but I had not seen much street art in northern Thailand, until now. I ran into a couple of different spots in Phayao, where walls had been used as artist canvases. For at least one of the clusters, I discovered it just as I was going from one place to another. It caught me by surprise, pleasantly. It was a pleasure to see the creativity of some of the residents of this town displayed out in the open where everyone can appreciate it. When I arrived in Phayao, I had a bit of time until I could check into my hotel. To pass the time, I stopped into a phenomenal little coffee shop. It is Infinity Cafe. The staff was incredible, and they treated me kindly, in addition to whipping up a cappuccino for me. This place is only about 150 meters from where I arrived at the bus station. It's open air with a nice breeze, good coffee, a great vibe. What a perfect introduction to a new town. All over northern Thailand, I've found the cafe culture to be strong. Places such as this draw me in and add so much to the happiness that I am able to derive from the simple indulgence of having a drink. After the coffee, there was still an hour or so before check-in. I grabbed an outside table at Sukte restaurant. There, I ordered one of the most traditional dishes of northern Thailand. This is a dish that I've become very familiar with. It's called khao soi. Usually, though, I have pork or chicken with it. This time, the protein is shrimp. Just like pad thai, I found that khao soi is a plate that is fairly consistent no matter where you eat it. There is a confidence in choosing it off the menu, knowing that it's going to be a tasty meal. I actually met the owners of the Lake Cafe when I stopped at the Sukte restaurant for lunch. That made my choice for a drink on the following morning an easy one. The cafe was steps from the waterfront and an amazingly attractive setting. I picked a spot in the shade out back. The morning coffee is not a cappuccino or coffee at all. What sounded good to me was a pineapple smoothie. With the weather conditions the way they are, it was a good call. The smoothie was as refreshing as I had hoped. Temperatures on this day were headed to the upper 90s, but the drink set me up nicely for what was to come. I stayed in the Banye Hotel in Phayao. It was close to everything that I wanted to see. It also provided a clean aesthetic and a comfortable place to sleep. For my 2-night stay, the total bill was under $33. Astounding. I think 2 nights in Phayao would be all that anyone needs to see what is there. If you are looking for a hassle-free place to stay, however, in an authentically northern Thai town, that stay could be extended for essentially any length of time. There is a small hippie village in northern Thailand called Pai, which has become very popular with foreigners and backpackers. I was debating about whether to spend time there or here in Phayao. For me, I believe I made the absolute right decision. From the temple in the lake to that magnificent breakfast market and everything in between, I am smitten with Phayao. I feel like I've discovered something that very few other travelers have ever even heard about. That makes me happy. Thanks for being here on Old, Alone, and Far From Home. I will see you next time.